beautiful woman. This is Debs de Vries for the Eden Room. And if we've met before, then you'll probably know me as Debs de Vries, the menopause mama, the menopause mum, as they call me around here. If you haven't met me before, one of the things that I do for women is to help them through the transition from midlife right up to menopause in very, very many different ways. But my purpose in our chat now is to talk to you in this series about some of the things that I hear, could say expressed as really big issues when women are coming into their early to mid 40s generally, but it can go on for longer if we don't get on top of it. So the topic at hand is I'm way too emotional. Have you said that to yourself? Have you said it to anybody else? Or perhaps somebody or some bodies are saying to you, oh, you're way too emotional. It's your hormones. Well, let's just take a breather on this, a little step back. The idea that hormones are guilty, I think, is a problematic. Hormones are shifting and changing, that is for sure. And certainly serious clinical or medical imbalances are a problem, a real problem, and can make you feel you've just completely lost the plot. So don't ignore any troubling symptoms that go on for more than a couple of weeks, like real sadness or depression or rage. But do be conscious that at midlife, your body is trying to switch physiological systems. So at one level, it's got a job to do. Your estrogen's falling. That changes your energy levels to a degree and a number of other things. It changes how the hormones, which are the messengers, the signaling system of the body, are talking to each other and what signals, what biochemical signals they're sending. So that in itself is unsettling, even if you don't know it, your body does. The other thing to consider is whether it's the hormones themselves that are doing this, or whether it's something about our behavior that's making it happen as well. Okay, so I'm not saying that the hormonal fluctuations don't amplify emotions. For sure they do, but let's just have a think about what an emotion is. Okay, so some of them are good and some of them are bad, according to lots of people in the world. I don't see it like that. I see emotion as an old-time metaphysicist as energy in motion, emotion. But to be more precise, it's different kinds of energies or flavors of being a human that present themselves in your body. You have a response to something and you feel an emotion, but what do you feel? You know, exactly what do you feel and when do you feel it? So one of the biggest problems I see is that a lot of women have switched off from feeling much. And it's quite hard to describe that if you think you're feeling, because if we pick up the signal early enough, it's very unlikely you'll reach the point where you're like a bull in a china shop. You know, everything's got too much. The cork pops, it's a train wreck. Or the cork pops and your emotions overwhelm you and you spend some time having to rebuild because you've collapsed. You've got too weepy, too tired, because not expressing your emotions in a healthy way is tiring. I won't talk about that today, but it is exhausting. We use energy to keep them down. So very often what I find is you've got a couple of things happening. It's like your body is working to help you be more sensitive to what's going on in your environment and to actually get that environment in a way that's healthier for you. So a simple explanation might be that something's really bugging you, right? Somebody's pissed you off. Now, there's degrees of this, but let's just say you think, I won't say anything. But you've had the feeling, right? I won't say anything, or now's not the right time, or I'll leave it till there's a better time. And for some reason, there never seems to be a better time. And it's almost like we just put up with it, okay? Oh, it's not for me and I shouldn't be asking, and I don't want people to see me angry, I don't want people to think that I'm lazy, jealous, resentful, any of these emotions. And this has a way of eventually coming out in, the sort of the gunny sack, we used to call it in assertiveness training back in the day, that you carried all these things and one little touch on that sack from something not related and suddenly, the cork flies out, the champagne is everywhere. So we're culturally often programmed not to know how to speak about our feelings, and we're culturally often and societally programmed not to even really feel them or name them. So as this amplification occurs, one of the great things about it is that it gives us an opportunity to really do what I call naming and reclaiming our emotional self. Now, I don't want you to think of that as you can if you like, but some sort of can't speak to her because she's so emotional. No, I'm talking about the woman who is mastering her emotions. She feels them, right? That's sexy, that's grounded, that's safe. When we feel safe, we express our emotions fluently. And this is about fluency. It's about allowing the energy that's moving in your body. Those of you who are maybe into yoga or have some understanding of the Socratic system, the energy that is moving in the lower part of your body is so important because it generates power for the womb area and all kinds of other things. But that we can recognize it as quickly as possible and do something with it. Now, what we need to avoid doing with it is just dumping it on somebody else. You've made me angry. That's kind of pushing our power away. But you can say, I'm feeling pretty angry right now. I'm going to go outside and leap around. And when I'm back in a better place, I'll come back and speak to you about that. Now, anger can be mildly ticked off, which you might just, and it might be the investment in that relationship isn't high enough for you to get this level of intimacy. But even so, in recognizing it in that moment, you still got an energy running that needs expression. And you may not be able to do it right there and then, but your body won't forget, right? Your body won't go, oh, that was 5 minutes ago, because your body isn't in time, right? It's a construct. Body doesn't know that, doesn't know, it's got its own rhythms. Sure, it knows when it needs to eat, but it's not looking at a watch, is it? It's working with circadian other kinds of rhythms. So if you go home from, let's say you've been at work, or you've been in heavy traffic, you go home with all that and it's not expressed, it's going to impact you at some point because it's actually like trying to stop the river. So learning to reclaim and name your emotions is very, very powerful. And to do it, mastery isn't having them, and mastery isn't wobbling. It's like, how quickly did I get there? And your womb is connected with your throat, right? That's a whole big teaching. How quickly was I able to say, hang on, I'm feeling resentful about this. I'm feeling angry about this. I'm feeling tired right now. I'm feeling hungry right now. I need this to happen so that I can get back into a better position. I know with children, little ones, it's harder, but older children can learn a lot from a carer, a mama, who clearly states her needs. Now, the other part of that is not expecting people to agree with you, right? That sounds weird. I'm not coming at it from a we're doing this so we get something point of view, because what we actually get is a feedback loop to our inner being. Let's just call it your inner being. Your inner being goes, oh, good, yeah, match. There's no dissonance here. This is anger. She's just told everyone I'm angry. If nobody cares, nobody cares. The point is you do. And this is part of the sexiness, I think, that we develop, definitely, when we step over some of our cultural and physiological programming, right? Because your body will have been switched off. I'm not saying you personally, but a lot of the women I see, their body doesn't even register. It might be days later, or they have dreams or something else. They go, why am I angry? Where did that come from? The body doesn't forget. So I'm just going to check my notes. So become more fluent. That helps your energy levels. Become more grounded. So when you can name your emotions and reclaim them and speak up for them, you become much more grounded, much more present, totally to your body, to not just your mind, what your mind thinks is going on, but to this container for you. This is like the largest bit of you. We think about the mind, we think about the face, but all of this is part of a massively intelligent network. And once your physical body begins to feel safer, which it will, when you can feel these emotions, move them through you, and there are many different ways for doing that, which don't involve other people, which is great because sometimes other people aren't adept in having a really positive emotional conversation. Some people just don't have the skills and tools. And again, it's important for us to take ownership of this and not just blame it on hormones. They're helping us. Hormones, heavenly messenger. Your endocrine system is signaling. It's not signaling that you've lost the plot and you've suddenly become a nasty person. It's signaling that, hey, there's something going on in your environment you need to be conscious of. What I find sexy is people who are really clear and visible. And sometimes as women, we can feel invisible. Nobody knows what I wanted. Nobody noticed this. Nobody asked me. And that's can be a very lonely and dispiriting place. It doesn't always please other people when we step into our power. It is an empowering thing to do this because now they've got to perhaps change their behavior. So in terms of behavioral change, when we start asking, we're changing the goalposts. So if we've taught other people how to behave towards us, we have to be tactful and mindful of that, And you can do some pre-framing around, look, I know I've always done this, but where I'm at right now, I haven't got the energy for it. It's just not for me. Just acknowledge that if you come with a history, you've got to own that to a degree. You've allowed that history to unravel the way it has. So let's go back to the top. I'm way too emotional. Well, if it's causing you problems, if you're having horrible arguments, fallouts, if you're just exhausted from holding it down or from getting too weepy or from not feeling like doing stuff, which again is a repression of energy to a degree, although midlife is a time to draw back a little, the energy just come back, then don't tell yourself you're way too emotional. What I would suggest is you want to say, I'm really curious about what these emotions are. It's very different. I'm really curious why I let myself get to this point before I do anything about it. Okay, so that's the wisdom nugget for now. If you would like to talk about this or any issue related to the passage to power, which is the midlife transition, you'll find me at the Eden Room. And I know that you'll be finding the Eden Room an amazing resource. I hope that you're going to join me on some other chats. We've got many planned. And if you've got an idea, let me know. I'd love to hear.